Okay, so this is a place where you grew up?
Yeah, I've lived in 3 other towns since being sort of becoming a musician and stepping into that piece. And I've been amazed to discover. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, home of the blues. I've lived now in Portland, Oregon, where there's a lot of blues influence from Chicago and from the West Coast. So there's jump blues, there's Chicago blues. But growing up in Houston, Texas, we're at the edge of Louisiana. So there's this gumbo influence coming from Louisiana as African American populations and the French Creole populations came over here to work in the oil business. And the Catholic churches put Zydeco bands in the parish hall on Saturday nights as fundraisers. And if it wasn't for the Catholic Church, may my mother rest in peace, because I'd call her up and say, look in the Catholic Herald, where's the Zydeco dance tonight? Mm-hmm. And until the white kids and the clubs discovered this music, it was kept alive by the black Catholic parishes in and around the greater Houston area. So you've got that, you've got swamp pop, you've got R&B, you've got rhythm and blues out of Fort Worth, you've got that sort of slick up-tempo, uptown blues that Bobby Bland was playing here. You've got Huey Moe bringing people together. I mean, the amount of music that you learn as a musician in Houston, Texas, and what you're exposed to, and to some degree, what you're expected to play, then add singer-songwriters and folk music to that on top of that. And so I'm living in other places and trying to start bands in other places, and people don't have the palette to draw from.
So how do they respond to the information you share with them about your history down here and what you were exposed to? And when you name names like Layton and Hopkins and people like that, do they understand? Are they familiar with those names?
Well, everybody's eyes bug out. Most of them, they go, what? They go, you did what? And I went, yeah. It was hard to play with Layton because he kind of made it up. And, I was a little bit of a harsh judge because, well, it's supposed to be back to the one, and Layton ain't ready to go to the one yet. Layton is where Layton wants to be, and you better follow Layton. So my appreciation for the blues as a cultural expression started there. And then when I did live in Memphis, we drove over to Arkansas, where Pop Staples was born, and they celebrated his life with a concert where Pop Staples and the Staples family performed on a flatbed truck. And on the way over, we went past Parchman Farm, which is this prison farm that's written about in a lot of 20s, 30s, 40s blues songs. And we saw those sharecroppers' shacks. And I realized at that point that the blues for people was a way to get out of that life. Mm-hmm. If you had a guitar and you could put 4 strings on it and make something and shuck and jive, and just create some kind of an audience, it was a way to not have to pick cotton and to have nothing but dead ends. And it's like, it's kind of like a doo-wop became for poor white kids, and it's kind of like what rap is now for kids to get out of the ghetto. There's a way that you can create something for yourself, and it's a ticket out of a dead end. It's a ticket out of a trap.
The white community romanticizes the blues, but for the black community, it's completely different. It was a survival.
Yes, it really was. It was a way of making peace with a set of circumstances that you didn't have the power to change at that time. So yeah, my appreciation for the blues has grown immensely, and then in a certain way now, it's also like, well, it does. There's a negativity around it. I remember in Memphis, people say, well, the blues don't get no respect. And it's like, if the blues got respect and the blues got money and the blues had it, there would be no reason to have the blues. I threw my drink across the lawn.
Well, what about those honky-tonk people, too?
Well, see, and Hank Williams played, honky-tonk. George Jones. It was just a blues for a slightly different kind of, different.
For the white people.
For the blues for poor white people.
So, speaking of the blues, you came down here for a special event.
I did come down for a special event. Dr. Rocket formed in 1979 with 4 people, Rock Romano, and Little Screamin' Kenny on bass, myself, Rich Layton on the harmonica, and our drummer was Steve Smitty Smits. And Steve passed away late last year from a short battle, relatively, with ALS that nobody understands where it comes from. And sad to see one of the sweetest, nicest guys have to go slow and painfully like that. But what a celebration of his life and the people. Whoa!
You're well enough. But it was a fun
Yes,
time.
it
and
was.
It was at the
it
Art
was.
Car
It was
Museum.
at the Art Car Museum, and Smitty in his later years became a contributing artist to the community, doing art cars and helping other artists keep their art cars running.
And the show that's up right now
The show, right.
is called Musicians Who Make Art.
Right.
And he's included in it, and they took one of the rooms and made an altar out of it.
Yeah, and people writing on the walls, and so pictures of us playing together over the years, and we Dr. Rocket kind of faded as we all went our different directions, and but we came back together maybe 9 years ago for the Urban Animals 25th reunion, and we've since done several more shows. And then whenever I would come to Houston, I'd call up Rock, and I'd call up Smitty, and I'd call up Kenny, or just call somebody and say, okay, let's go find a stage we can jump up on for 35 or 40 minutes before somebody's show.
You're talking about Kenny Blanchett?
Yep.
I picked him up at the airport when he moved here from L.A.
Oh, or moved back from L.A.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he played out with Fever Tree.
I went with Dennis Keller. We went and picked him up.
Oh, man. Yeah, Little Screamin' is a trip. And so what I get to do now is I get to play Little Screamin' Kenny songs in Portland, Oregon, and Rock Romano songs and Jack Saunders songs and Romeo Dogs, and who else? The Hollisters.
Maybe you need to make a tour guide and have a group of people come down to Houston to hear some music for a 4-day event.
Not bad.
Bring them down here and let them see the music scene.
Right. Carolyn Wonderland comes up and plays a little bit. The Stone River Boys come up, which was part of the Hollisters and part of the Hacienda Brothers now. Who's the little man? Dale Watson, the little man with the big voice. I played on
He's
Dale's
a hot
first
ticket now.
demo, and I went up and saw him. I said, Dale Watson, I'm Rich Layton. I played harmonica on the very first demo you ever made. He said, oh my God, don't tell me you still have a copy of it. and he got me up there to play, and it was really great. We hung out for a long time, so it's like I've been part of the music scene here in this kind of undercurrent way.
Well, it's kind of pulling you back in a little bit, and I'm seeing this a lot with a lot of different people who are from here, kind of coming back here. Yeah.
Well, up in Portland, there's a house concert scene. Dana Cooper comes to town, and I go, Dana. And I know the people presenting the house concert, and they're fun. And so I go over and I come to the house concert, and Dana sees me and he goes, well, you brought your harps, didn't you? And I said, of course. And I got up on stage, and we hadn't played together in 30 years, and it was the bicycle metaphor has been so perfect. And then Eric Taylor came to Portland, same deal. I never played with Eric a lot, and we did an entire hour-and-a-half show together in this seamless way, where I was playing like whispered notes on the harmonica with him, and it was just. And
Show me how whispered.
Oh, I mean like.
Oh, nice. Because he's a quiet.
Because he's telling a story,
Yeah.
and he's and he's got his guitar just strumming along, and he's asking me to. And it's like
lace.
It's like a light brush, on a canvas.
So you're painting with the notes.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so that's to be able to sort of like go back to my roots, my Anderson Fair acoustic roots, and because there's a lot of people that can do this, and then do it really well, and a lot do it better than me. But there's not a lot of people out there doing this. Then that's just like, wow, I just love that. So I've never put it down. I'm never going to be one of those guys that comes up at the end of the night and says, oh, I was in a band, or I used to play the guitar, and I sold it all, and I wish I never quit. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, there is no parole from rock and roll.
Yeah, so what do you've got a couple of minutes left. What do you envision for yourself in the next few years, and what would you like to see, not just for yourself, but for the music that you're trying to transcend and share and pollinate about the Houston music
right
scene?
Well, there was no Gulf Coast rock and roll per se being played in Portland, Oregon. There's kind of I call it the shoegazer stuff, and then a lot of good blues, journeyman blues stuff, really nice, fabulous blues community, but this kind of East Texas Roadhouse,
And are people receptive to it?
And people are very receptive to it. It's fresh,
Got
it's
a good
new.
groove.
We still jump around and do it with all the energy and swagger that we can muster. and I'm bringing some classic swamp pop in, and I'm bringing some Cajun stuff in.
And when you're a seasoned vet, that seems to have some credibility.
It does.
With that too.
It does. And so, I've been writing songs for 30 years, and just depending on the kindness of strange guitar players, or is it the kindness of guitar playing strangers? I'm not sure, because you can't really communicate a song on the harmonica. The chord structure of the chains is kind of difficult. But I've got I write with a melody. I've got the structure. I've got the lyrics. It's kind of a fully formed song, and then I have to be comfortable enough that I can intimately sit across from somebody and say, well, it's like, and slap my knee and sing it out at the top of my lungs if it's a rock and roll song, and then, piece it together, then bring it into the band. And in 2 or 3 occasions, I found people that trusted, that I trusted, and they believed in my talent, and they communicated in a way to me that was invited me to, you got something, bring it out, and let me help you.
So hold your CD up real fast.
So this CD is called Tough Town, and you can hold the CD up. And how do I describe it? I've described it as the sound of an East Texas roadhouse, harmonica fueled and swampified. I also said, standing at the crossroads of twang and tremolo, we weave a soundtrack for a swampadelic Saturday night. So there's a little bit of Hispanic Latin music. There's some swamp pop. There's some gut-busting rock and roll, and it's everything that we've played here in the Gulf Coast. So, Tough Town, Rich Layton and the Troublemakers, thetroublemaker's.net. You can buy it.